Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to Lazy Dog RC, or Lazy Dog whatever. I don't really know what I'm calling myself these days. I've seen a lot of interest in a lot of videos, and I waste a lot of time looking up the upgradeability and the features and everything of the Wltoys series. And while I really like them, and they open up some really cool interests and opportunities and learning experiences, because they're in such high demand, I haven't been able to get a hold of them myself. The prices are actually gone up, and I kind of went a different direction. So what I have here today are two different trucks, 1/18 scale is what they claim. And I have the Bezgear MH181, which is this nice red one. These are brushed. These come ready to run. So it comes with batteries, comes with control, the receiver, comes with everything you need. And I will say right offhand, runs nicely. I run them around the parking lot. I use it around the apartment complex, chase dogs around the dog park, goof off, do whatever I want. Very casual, friendly, easy to use, not going to flip over a million times, and can take a beating. I have crashed it into many things many times with me and my friends driving them. Now this other one, the Sandyland, this is a DeeRC 9300. Now, I'll go ahead and say this now. These are 99% the same vehicle. The insides and everything are exactly the same, except for this has this nice tailpiece. It's got a different body shell. And it seems like the servo on this one, the steering servo, is a little slower to react. What I do like is if you look inside here, you can see everything fairly easily. We've got the brush motor with a little heat sink. And there went my camera. Alright, we have an all-in-one ESC receiver. Unfortunately, it's got one of those 5-pin servo connectors to a micro server. And it comes with a battery. Now, I say unfortunately is because, like anybody else, this one is my newest one. I just got this like a week ago, and I'm going to keep it mostly stock. There's not going to be a whole lot of tinkering. This is going to be what I let my buddies drive. The Sandyland is the one I got previously, and as you can see, I basically stripped out the inside, and I'm going for a brushless upgrade. And so during this process, I learned a few things, which I did not know. Again, that's part of the fun and why I'm doing this. As somebody who likes to tinker. These are fantastic little devices and little toys, and they don't cost a ton of money. All in with this and parts and all kinds of other things, I've spent about the same as I have on a Tamiya kit that doesn't come with receiver or anything else. Now, the Tamiya kit is going to be nicer. It's going to look better. There's a lot of benefits. I'm not knocking Tamiya, but for a cheap poke-around electronics toy, these are hard to argue with. So, like I said, this one's stock. You can see it's got just friction dampers, doesn't have oil shocks. I'm just going to kind of move this out the way and kind of go over what I've learned in a brushless conversion. And I've knocked my camera over twice. This is my first time doing one of these videos, by the way, so just bear with me. I'm going to probably leave in all my mess ups because who cares. Okay, so as you can see, I stripped it out. And if you look along here, the batteries I bought to work with this ESC, they didn't fit. So I carved it out. This DeeRC, I bought the original kit for $70 probably 6 or 8 months ago. So $70, yeah, it's a little bit. I will say the Bezgear I got 2 weeks ago, it was down to $43, which was kind of nice. For something that works perfectly fine running around the parking lot and tightly cut grass. Could definitely go off-road on really tight dirt, really tight mulch, or, golf course, lawn mowed grass. So this one's going to be the Tinker toy. This was the one I'm going to take apart and probably break 5 or 6 times, replace parts, and kind of learn from. So I'm going to kind of start from anywhere and kind of talk you through what I've done. So first thing I did was I had to replace these diffs. The original diffs have plastic cups right over here, and about my third time out ramming into parking lot structures, it's sheared right along there. And, obviously that's not going to fly. So I went to a online shop, ordered from China, got 2 metal divs, include metal cups, metal gears, whole deal. 2 of them were about $10. Just had to wait a little bit for shipping. Not a problem. Waited, they came in, fit in perfectly, greased them up. They run just fine, no complaints. The next thing I did was ordered some shocks. Now these are oil-filled shocks. They're metal but with a plastic cap, so they're not super race ready. I'm not going to set any land speed records with them, but they work a lot better than the standard friction dampeners and keep it much more stable on the ground. The shocks cost $15. The divs were 10. I got this motor ESC combo online. No major name brand. ESC, brushless, T-connector, standard, really nice, 25 amp. Works just fine since I'm not really pressing the lipos or I'm not really trying to set speed records. Works just fine. And this is, you can see there, just a 2430 7200 kV motor. Experimentation will tell me, does this work or not work? So, got the parts in, got very excited, sat down with a hockey game on, stripped out the inside, greased everything up, put the new items in, learned something very quickly. First thing I learned was, now this is the stock motor, and if you look, it's just a standard silver, 380 size brushed motor. But the pinion gear that sat right here was put on with pressure and almost just pressure fitted on. So I had to heat it up and pry it and heat it and pry it and heat it and pry it and everything else. Eventually got it off. It just takes a little elbow grease. The brush motor I'm upgrading, which it's not going to really focus right, it actually has a flat side. So this brushless motor, when you put the pinion gear on, it's expecting a grub screw to go in and with some Loctite hold that pinion gear on, so when it hits the drive bar, they spin. But what happens is the pinion gear I had, since it didn't have a grub screw, was too big, and this flat spot, since it's cut into the diameter of the shaft, meant the pinion gear would just, here it is actually, it would just free spin on here and not turn the motor, and just free spin all day. So the motor would spin inside, pinion gear would do nothing. I was in a rush to get this project done because I wanted to bring it to work for some friends and we were going to goof around at lunch. So I tried 2 different things. One, I tried to just put a bunch of solder in here and put that on and have it hold it in place. Obviously that did not work. I was really dumb to try that, wasted some time. The second thing I did was I filled this gap, this hole, with some quick weld and let it sit overnight. Looked like everything was set hard, working right. Took it to work, got out there at lunch, noticed it was cogging really badly. And cogging would be when you're pressing the speed slower and it does like a stutter, like it's not spinning or turning, or there's some kind of resistance where it doesn't want to go. Fought through it, spent about 6-7 minutes running it around, having some fun, couple little bumps into the other car. And then all of a sudden, when I pressed I pulled the trigger on the transmitter, I could just hear the spinning free. It actually broke in the JB weld. Just, it didn't hold. No chance at all. So that was a lesson. That was a good lesson to learn. So I had to wait and go online to a shop because no local hobby stores had what I needed, which is a pinion gear with a grub screw, about 15 tooth, that fit on a 2mm motor, because they were all, the hobby shops nearby were more targeting the 1/10 size, which use a bigger diameter spinny bit. I'm tired of thinking of words right now. So I had to order a new gear. And since I was ordering a new gear, I went ahead and ordered a metal one to replace this on the shaft. So I'll be metal to metal instead of metal to plastic. Hopefully that'll mesh. Since they're coming together as a match pair, they should mesh really well and run smoothly. And since it's metal, hopefully it will just last longer and be able to take the force that the brushless motor is going to be putting through it and give me some really nice speed and some chaos, which is really what I'm hoping for. It's just random things to happen. And then the last thing I replaced, since I took the ESC out, the old ESC and the receiver combo had a 5-pin special servo deal. Well, I had just a small servo from stockpile, standard 3-pin servo, ready to go. I initially paired it with my Radiolink receiver, and this has a little gyro in it that I'm not using. And other than breaking the pinion gear, everything worked fine. So I really like this. I really like this model as kind of a base for tinkering and upgrading and not spending a ton of money. For the DeeRC, all in, not counting the receiver and transmitter, because that's something I'm considering separate since I can use that for other projects. I spent $146 on all the upgrade parts, the electronics, and the base model itself. That's rarely affordable. In the long run, that is really affordable for what's going to be a brushless system on a 1/8 scale running way faster than I could probably handle. I imagine I'm just going to be putting this into a lot of concrete and, parking lot structure. But hey, I didn't build this to be a pristine model. I built this to be bashed around and goof off and entertain myself. So I'm not sitting at home doing nothing. The other option you might notice on here, if you look on this, you see that little piece right here, the little Velcro or hook and loop, if I don't want to use the name brand, and this cutout. So since I'm using a receiver that is part of a new radio system, I have all these little slots to fill if you want to, and if your transmitter receives them. Now mine is my transmitter is a 4, here we go, it's a 4-channel, which is nice. It's average. It's exactly what I need. So I'm not using all 4 channels. So I have these extra rails on here, and what I did to use them and to add in some extra fun is I bought myself a cheap little FPV camera, and it's got the camera and the antenna transmitter all in one. It came with a small connector, but I went ahead and soldered that onto a servo connector that had spare and just took out the signal pin, so all I'm getting is power. So now this gets powered off the receiver using the same battery pack that runs the vehicle. It's got Velcro on the base and just a poker chip and blue tack, because this isn't a permanent thing. This is just for goofing around and having fun at work. And now I can run this, and I've tested out the camera, it works nice. I can run this with an FPV camera or using it as a base station like the screen, and get some cool FPV video. This is all part of a learning process. Hopefully I hope to expand my FPV knowledge going forward, but this is kind of my first initial tries and my first initial goof arounds. Well, that's about it for what I'm doing with the Sandyland. I hope to get some video up as soon as my new gear and the new pinion gear come in, which should be any day now. Okay, well, I got a problem. As you can see, the Sandyland is in parts. In fact, it's even less parts. Is taken apart even more than before, because I ran into a problem, because I am an impatient, dumb man-child. So, I needed a new pinion gear for the motor, which when the motor was in, went right into this area. The gear went right into there, connected with this big wheel, spun everything real fast. Cool. So I go and I order one blind online, and it comes in with this, which is really nice, made of nice metal. It's got a grub screw, which is what I was looking for. Unfortunately, this across here is way too big, way too wide. So it doesn't fit into the spot it's given. Not only that, if you see the teeth, they do not mesh up at all with what is already in there. So that ain't gonna work. I mean, primarily because it flat doesn't fit. I would have to carve out more of the body and do a whole bunch of other pain in the butt stuff that I'm really not feeling like doing right now, because this was my last little bit of spending money to order these. Now the mesh part normally would be okay because it came with this nice metal gear to go over that center shaft so that I could put this in here. These two items are made and mesh up very nicely and would work great. Unfortunately, this, where the shaft would run through, is wider than my actual shaft. That is what happens when you order blindly online and you don't measure anything. There's one simple tool I could have used when I was ordering that if I would have just taken time and measured, everything would have been fine. This little piece of plastic, this $2-3 piece of plastic thing that I picked up from Harbor Freight, if I would have just measured what I needed beforehand and measured the drive shaft, would have probably saved me a few bucks, saved me a few days, and some headache. So unfortunately, this project is now on hold until I can find the right size spinning gear to fit in there. So, final thoughts before I kind of shelve this for a little bit and hopefully go get some video with the other car, is that out of the box, these are fantastic. No complaints. They're not going to win you any races. They're not going to show off, your amazing driving skills and not be best performing. But I get them for between 40 to 60 bucks. They're kind of hard to argue with because they're definitely above toy grade like you'd find at a Walmart or something. But they're not really hobby grade. And then when you spend the money, when you get to the nitty gritty like the drivetrain, you run into some problems because of non-standard sizes and parts. Doable. I'll probably keep working at it and just have to dig around and search and find the right pinion gear with the grub screw. Like I said, I'll take 2 measurements, should be able to find it. It's just going to take more time. But for right now, this is on hold, and unfortunately I won't get any cool driving footage of this. But it's a beautiful day outside. I know a freshly sealed parking lot nearby. And the beauty of having them this size, this 1/18th scale that is inexpensive, is I can just throw this in my backpack, hop on the motorcycle, ride down, bash away for a while, burn through a couple charges of batteries. And it's a lot better than sitting inside doing nothing. So thanks for checking this out, and hopefully at the very end of this I can tack on some footage of the other car driving around real fast and running into things. Off to test my video editing skills.